Okay, we're recording. Okay, welcome to the last weekly update of the summer.
Yes.
If we seem overly cheerful today, it's because all of our kids are going back to school on Tuesday.
Yes. Oh, it's going to be an interesting time.
Hey, the Heart Investment Group productivity just tripled.
Exactly. No longer, where is my this? Where is my that? Can I do this? Can
Yeah,
I do that?
yeah, exactly. Driving kids around midday, like, oh, just crazy. But what a time. What a time. Okay, let's get started. So yeah, long weekend here coming up. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're hoping things will be back to normal. It'll feel like regular life on Tuesday.
This might. Looks like
Yeah,
everything's generally, at least in Ottawa, that is opening back up, and hockey tryouts. So we've been going through here, and sports teams are being formed, and
yeah,
seasons being planned.
yeah, for sure. Absolutely. All right. Well, we're gonna start off with a little housekeeping, which has been good. We've been working hard on a few things. As most of you know, we added another team member. So one of the questions that we got a lot, even when I joined, I replaced Tim, and then we added Joy. Is for a lot of clients, you don't always know who to contact for what. Like if you need to send you some money to your bank account, or if you want to transfer some money in or something like that, right? So some people just email Ben directly, and then he sends it to us and whatever, right? But we thought maybe or if there's somebody, we bring on a new team member, and people aren't sure now who to contact, Joy or myself. So what we
Yeah.
decided to do is we decided to make one central email and one central phone number that people can call in, and it'll never change moving forward. So it doesn't matter what's going on in the team, you can always do it. You can always email in there, and I'm going to give you the email a couple times, and then Ben's going to send another email out maybe later, early this week or over the weekend or something like that. So if you ever have anything, you want to book an appointment, anything, if you with one central email, send it to service.heart@nbc.ca. So from there, what we're going to do is we're going to take it, and Joy will allocate it to whoever is the right person to do that. Not only is that going to get it to the right person, it's going to get you a faster response too, because Joy will immediately reply to it and say, okay, we got it. Ben's going to get back to you. Scott's going to get back to you. And we'll be able to move much quicker. Same thing with the phone number. We now have a virtual system. So you call in, it's an 800 number. The 800 number is 866-613-HEART. And I'll get you exactly what the heart part is, but it's 866-613-HEART. And what that'll do too is you can call in, and it'll be Joy that answers, and if she's not available, it'll roll down to me, and if I'm not available, it'll roll down to Ben. So we're trying to be able to answer your calls as quickly as possible as well, so you don't have to wait a day or whatever for us to figure out who's going to take it and who's going to get back to you. So I don't know if Ben, if you want to fill in on that, or
Yeah, so Jose had a good question there. I was going to make
okay.
reference to that too, where no, you can still, if you want to book a meeting directly, my calendar is still going to be updated live, and we'll continue to use that and service that. So you can still book in there. That's no problem.
For sure.
Yeah, we just have some people still aren't comfortable using that system, and they want us to book the meeting, and so that's an option for them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And our phone numbers, our direct numbers aren't going away or anything like that. We're just putting a process in place, so it's a little bit more streamlined for everybody, and you will be able to get quicker responses from us that way. And there'll be no confusion too if there's changes in the team or anything like that. Like, oh, who do I talk to now? Right?
Yeah.
You can always just call there, and we'll make sure that your request gets the right person.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, Ben will send out an email with the email and phone number as well. And actually, we mentioned last time too, we're also using more of a central email communication system too. So rather than Ben sending out every single email, Myself or Joy can now send out emails. So for example, the links to these things, right, will now come from the Hart Investment Group versus Ben Hart. So as we mentioned last week too, we're going to send them from both places. But you should look, if you don't get both, maybe look for the Hart Investment Group one in your spam filter or your junk mail, and maybe just move it to your inbox so that it knows that it's safe from now on, right? Because sometimes those email services get filtered into the spam bot there.
Yeah.
All right. Any other housekeeping things, Ben?
No, I think that's good. I think it's we're just going to be rolling out this contact system. You know, if you have any issues, it doesn't work. Certainly, our numbers are still there. Still call us, text us, whatever you need to do to get that. But yeah, we're going to put this in place to hopefully do a better job and allow you to make sure we answer every call that comes through.
Exactly, and faster, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, we're not doing it to like have less touch points. We're actually just doing it to have faster touch points and making it more consistent for people.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's get into the meat and potatoes, what people came here for. Ben, how was your week? I feel like I barely talked to you. What happened? Were you busy?
Yeah,
the
pretty
market's busy. What happened?
The markets weren't that busy from an action perspective, but the decision making maybe was changing a little bit early this week. I seem to reference, I think, in one of my dailies that, I thought we might, we've been talking about this kind of quad 4 in Q4, and those numbers changed a bit this week, particularly in the US. I'm going to put up a couple of slides and we can go through them, but there's a couple of data points that changed early this week that said maybe we don't have quite what we were expecting in the US in Q4. We're probably still going to be in that slowing growth, slowing inflation, but it's almost more of a fine line than it was a couple of weeks ago. So that kind of changed my thinking a little bit. And as a result of that, any type of action I was intending to take this week really kind of ground to a halt, because it was more of a let's wait and see how the week plays out. A bunch of jobs numbers came out this week as well. Big jobs missed today. So I wanted to see how that played out into the market before I decide on where to go next. But that was, early this week that caused me to say, okay, let's just hold off on going as aggressive as I had been on my positioning for the back half of the year. So that was a change. So, but from a transaction perspective, quite muted. Did a few things here and there around the edges, but there wasn't any material changes this week.
Sometimes the best thing to do is nothing at all, right?
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. What about what's in the news? I know you have some charts to share with us. What was interesting to you this week?
I don't think there was anything dramatically interesting from a market perspective. I think from a news perspective, there's still lots of chatter around what's happening with Biden. Is he going to get impeached? Is he going to be taken out of the office because he's incompetent? I think that that chatter will continue for now. His ratings are going through the floor, some of the worst ratings that presidents had in a long time. So that's interesting potentially, because if the vice president takes over, that changes the landscape dramatically. So that's kind of a tail risk to pay attention to. And in Canada, we continue to be on the political landscape here with the elections coming up in 17 days. It's not quite as vocal as I thought it'd be, actually pretty quiet. But that continues to be something that I'm paying attention to. But nothing that I've seen gives me the view that we're going to have a dramatically different picture at the end of election day. I think we probably still have a Trudeau prime minister and a minority government. So we'll see, but I continue to pay attention to that more than anything. And as I say, the economic numbers were kind of the most interesting.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So did you want to go
Yeah,
ahead
yeah.
and share that research you were looking at?
Yep. So just let me know when you can see it and that we're good to go
Yep,
there. Good.
I can see it. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, so a number of things. I wanted to touch on a couple of things because we talk about this, and I have talked about this pretty frequently over the years, but more so as I do these weekly roundups, there's more conversations. I have some clients starting to talk about, well, what's quad four look like? What does quad two look like? What asset classes do well in those different setups? And so presently right now we're in that quad three setup, which is inflation continuing to increase and growth slowing. And so as you look down the column there, as you can probably see, it's a list of best asset classes, worst, which equities typically do well historically. These are back tested numbers. So these are the different asset classes and how they perform in the different economic environments. And so as we look at this, it's dramatically different if we go from quad three to a quad one, which I don't think we're doing, but we may potentially go from a quad three to a quad two, and if we were to do that, pretty dramatically different asset classes do well with that backdrop. So as we were driving along, I continued to think we were in quad three to heading towards quad four, and that's typically what happens. And so if you look at, as I mentioned, gold multiple times, those tend to be in the quad three, which we're in, and these are the asset classes that did best today too, if you look at this. So gold, tech, industrials, consumer discretionary. Things that struggled were, materials, telecom, consumer staples. So it's an interesting point to look at. But as I think about what's coming ahead, initially I thought we were going to move into that quad four, and you'd want to continue to add to your gold position, add to your fixed income position. And now I've had kind of some question marks around that. So this is a rough framework to think about. What's the macro doing? What asset classes do well in that macro? Makes sense? Oh, you're just muted, Scott. Yeah. There you
Sorry,
go.
I had to mute there because I had a cough.
Sure.
So if people wanted to have this slide, could we send it over where they could find it at hedgeye.com?
They probably
Either way.
can't get it at HedgeEye because it's in
Okay.
internal research, but I could send it to our clients. Yep, absolutely. I
Okay. If
just
anybody, so why don't we
asked.
do it this way? If anybody wants it, just email Ben directly, and he'll send it along.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool.
And yeah, so that's a good, interesting slide for sure. Let me know if you see the next one there.
We do.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what HedgeEye does and provides, I've had a number of conversations, but 2 or 3 this week where people have been interested in say, they don't necessarily like Keith's delivery. He's kind of animated and very antagonistic and arrogant, and like most of these guys are. One of the things that is most important is the amount of data that comes out of there. And so they have an algorithm that compiles the real-time economic data. And so I couldn't even begin to tell you how to start to do that. So they have something like 190 inputs that come into their system every day. And what spits out at the end of that is multiple spreadsheets that show you multiple things. If you want to look at any country in the world that they cover, you want to look at developed world, emerging economies, and you want to look at what's happening with inflation or growth, or what's the forecasted expectation of those things. All of this is readily available to you as a HedgeEye subscriber. So that's the stuff that's interesting, and that's the stuff that makes me pay attention and continue to subscribe to it. So if we look in here, if we look along what's happening, I don't know if you can see my mouse on this, but in the US, it continues to look like the probabilities continue to line up towards that quad four. But the reason I've kind of changed my view a lot is that Q3 and Q4, the probability of the likely outcome has dropped dramatically. So in the US's case, we got about a 40% probability that we go into that slowing growth and slowing inflation. That number was significantly higher before, but that number's changed with the real-time data that's come in. And so, so that has been the one that has made me say, okay, we kind of got a bit of a mix there between all four potential likely outcomes. So that's important to pay attention to, and it made me pause the direction of where I was taking portfolios. And if we look at the bottom slide, though, or the bottom portion of the slide, you'll see Canada. And so if we look at the Canada numbers, we'll see that it is almost a 90% probability of a quad four in Canada for the next 3 quarters, for Q4, Q1, and Q2 of next year. And so that's interesting to pay attention to. That tend to signal that maybe the Canadian economy has already reached its peak. Maybe we start to see commodities slow faster than we thought. And so why is this relevant? Well, it's relevant not only from what should we own, but it's relevant from what should we do with the currency. And so lots of questions around, do I buy US dollars? Where do you think it's going over the next couple of weeks to a couple of quarters? And so all of these things go into the decision-making process. Still looks like it's going to be a slowdown, and the severity of it, we'll see, but looks like it's probably been pushed out a little bit further and not likely to start in Q4, but maybe more likely to start in Q2 of next year. So those were the things that that grabbed my attention this week. And just the last one I want to touch on. And so this is all information, I'm kind of thinking about how I think through the process. And so, we look at what's happening in real time. What do you want to own in those different periods? And then what do you want to pay attention to from a key metrics perspective? And so this is Hedgeye research. So we look at these as the different levels. And so you can go through, these are obviously 12 signal levels. All of them mean different things for different reasons, but most of them are the support levels. So if you look at Ethereum there, you got 1944 as the support level. And so why that's relevant is if you are trading these within a band, you would look at where they're trading now. You say, I want to buy it around these levels. And there is an upper band, which I haven't included here. There's an upper band where you'd look at considering to sell, but these are really the key support levels. Like if you were to break any of these levels here, it would make you say, maybe I need to pay attention to something else. But these are the kind of the 12 support levels that it's important to pay attention to on a daily basis around what's happening.
Interesting. I like this little segment, Ben. Okay?
Yeah.
Ben's charts. It's always interesting when you bring the charts on.
Yeah.
A little visuals for us visual learners. It's great.
Yes, exactly.
Anybody have any questions about any of that? It's a lot of material in a short period of time.
Yes.
Yeah, nothing yet. Okay, well, if you think something, let us know for sure.
I'm gonna just stop sharing on that unless somebody had something they wanted to bring up, but just try to help people kind of think through the process a bit.
Love that. That definitely helps out seeing those visuals there. Okay, great. That's awesome. So what do you see coming up this week?
I think that with everyone going back to work, we got lots of more volume coming back to the markets. We had some this week, but next week I'd expect volume to come back, and we should get a reasonable signal for, are we going to really take off into that quad 3 where we start to get gold and gold companies moving? We see some of these asset classes make new highs, like real estate and utilities and healthcare. And so it'd be important to pay attention to what's happening, where the flows are going. But at the present time, that's primarily what I'd be looking at. And volumes, I think, are one of the more key metrics to watch right now. As I mentioned in one of my dailies, September historically has been a more volatile month. So we'll tend to pay attention to that. If you look at it over the last 50 years, it's about a coin toss, but you tend to have a lot more volatility in September.
Gotcha. Okay, Jose, that's a great idea. Ben's fun with charts. Hey, I love that. That's a
We
great.
need like a
Maybe
little
get a
bubble, or something.
little graphic, maybe a little jingle as it comes in. Ben's charts. Ben's charts. That's pretty good, actually.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Record that.
Yeah. Well, we have it recorded.
Oh, that's true.
So, okay, a couple things before we go. So again, any questions about anything you want to know? It doesn't even have to be about what we talked about now. It could be anything you're wondering about or anything you've seen in the news in the past week or so. Big job numbers today. Just gonna get you comment a couple things in the news here.
Sure. Yeah.
Dow falls after big jobs report miss.
Yeah.
What? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So it was
does it matter to us?
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, it was a pretty big miss. I think that some of the earlier data this week on Wednesday, the unemployment numbers are kind of coming down more slowly than they should be at this point. So it is one of the inputs to pay attention to. I mean, I don't know if you see it, but I see it everywhere, even here now, is a lot of places can't get people to work still.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. I'm thinking of dusting off the apron and going to serve on weekends.
It's true.
But yeah.
Well, bartending, I'll get the dust off my my cocktail uniform there from 1997. Go back behind the bar.
Exactly. So it's true though, like the numbers aren't coming down quick enough. People aren't taking jobs. Like unemployment numbers continue to be quite high. And so it's definitely important to pay attention to that number.
Yeah, for sure. And lastly, crypto still creeping up every week. Had another good week.
Yeah. I mean, Ethereum continued to have a strong week, and Bitcoin did as well. But ETH has really started to move. And again, with these conversations that we have with clients, right, on an ongoing basis, it continues to be an education piece to understand what the different things are. And I think we said this maybe 6 months ago, where ETH is a little bit more like a utility, right? Where we've seen all these smart contracts come, we've had NFTs, and the majority of these smart contracts are built on the ETH blockchain. And so ETH has really been taking a lot of attention. There's only something like 30% of the Ethereum in the public float right now. The conversion from that proof of work to proof of stake has been pretty material, because when you do that, you actually have the number of Ethereum outstanding go down. You actually burn Ethereum to do that. So a lot of things working in its favor right now. So that's certainly something to continue to pay attention to, because it's starting to accelerate, where Bitcoin is going up, but not at the same pace. A lot more Ethereum wallets at this point now than there was Bitcoin wallets at a similar time frame in 2013. So those two things are certainly things to continue to pay attention to. And just on a side note, and kind of a plug for us as well, as we're going to have a guest on to talk about NFTs in the next couple of weeks. So we'll have that on the podcast, hopefully end September sometime.
For sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. We did kind of predict that Ethereum might be the winner here in the next little bit, just because of its use, right?
Sure.
How flexible it is. So
definitely.
Great. All right. Any questions? No, we had questions today. I'm just looking here. I just want to give people that the phone number again.
Yep.
It's so for that customer service line, it's 866-613-4278. That's the best place to call in from now on. However, the other numbers still work. So if you can't remember that or whatever, it doesn't matter. Still call us and we'll still answer when we can, for sure. And the email address is service.heart@nbc.ca.
And you said "and," but it actually meant Joy. So to go to Joy, Joy, yeah.
Yeah, it'll go to Joy. I doubt
Yes.
it'll go to Anne. It doesn't work for us.
No. Just a point of clarification.
Yeah. So no one asked for Anne. It'll be a bottomless pit.
Yes.
Okay. All right. You got anything else?
Oh, that's it. So we do have some continued more podcast guests lined up. Again, if there's anything you would like to see, please let us know. We are trying to line up an accountant as well, to have sometime in the fall too. So if there's anything you want to see, want us to talk about, have more questions, please let us know. But we continue to try and bring out some great content and some interesting people.
Yeah, for sure. All right, everybody. That's it for the summer. So everybody have a great long weekend. Ben and I are gonna have one last hurrah with the fam here on the weekend, and then it's back to reality, which we're excited about.
Exactly.
All right, have a good weekend, everybody. See
Thanks.
you next week.
Take care.